Welcome to the Osmo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Joey Corman as we get ready here for Tuesday's NBA slate. We have 6 games brought to us by the Association, and we are brought to you in part by Yahoo Fantasy Sports. Check them out because it is where you can become a baller. We will talk about them a little bit further in the show. Joey, how are you doing? Haven't talked to you for a week.
It's been a week, and I am just getting back from my post Miami trip to the World Fantasy Football World Championship.
So
Team
how was
Austin.
it like hanging out with the 5th place finisher for I forget how much Alex won?
Or he was fourth place. He was fourth
Oh,
place.
4th place. Was it like
Place,
half a
yeah.
million or something?
He got $500,000 for that. A casual $500,000. He was it was actually one of the first times I've truly seen him excited about a lineup though. He was excited. He was
Very nice. Yeah, he ended up he did multiple entries in that contest. I think he ended up with about just shy of 700,000 total. The prize drops off rather quickly. It's like 180 people, $10 million prize pool, $2 million to first, $1 million to second, and then it starts dipping after that. And then at the same time at FanDuel, they had their live finals. Of course, he sent one Adam ship my money because FanDuel, in their infinite wisdom, had that live final out in Puerto Rico. Only one problem being in Puerto Rico: you can't play daily fantasy sports there. Seems like a bit of an oversight by their planning committee.
It seems like it, especially for daily fantasy people who want to be playing daily fantasy.
Yeah, kind of seems like a rough one. So those that had qualified at both ended up at DraftKings because that was held in Miami, and they could still get in all of their lineups for all of the days. But Alex had, I think he finished like 5th and 6th there or something like that. All told, he brought in close to $1 million on the various live finals. Now, yes, he spent money getting into them, but remember, he is the #1 daily fantasy gamer in the world right now. So congrats to him. Congrats to everybody that made those contests. Those are always tough to get to. I have not been to one myself. I think now they're a little top heavy and a little expensive to get into, but the events are absolutely phenomenal. Treat you like a king, get to do all sorts of different experiences, go out to some nice dinners, and of course, always good if you're bringing your spouse or your buddies, because then you can look impressive to them. Let's talk about today's. Oh, give us one fun tidbit that you can talk about from the event that surprised you. Did they have any famous people there? Did they do anything super special for all the attendees? What was one thing that stood out at the DraftKings event for you?
Yeah, Ed Reed was there. So
the football player Ed Reed, nice.
Yep. And that was good. He talked some smack about the Browns a little bit, and Miami guy. So people were excited to see him. DraftKings, they hosted a great event. They really put all the stops for that, and big thanks to DraftKings for entertaining. So very appreciative to be there.
All right.
Well, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
There we go. Yeah. We'll get you out of this one. Let's talk about the upcoming slate. It's a 6-gamer here, so we're going to kind of go game by game. We'll hit the highlights that we have for these, but let me look quickly who is on the old back-to-backs. It looks like Phoenix is on a back-to-back. They are the one team there. Notable injuries. Gosh, let's start with Phoenix. Devin Booker was out on Monday night, so we will have to see if he is going to miss another one. Let me get over to my news and notes here. We've got, let's see his issue. My apologies. So Devin Booker, bruised forearm, expected to be back on Tuesday. DeAndre Ayton has finished up his 25-game suspension. He will be back on Tuesday. And then Tyler Johnson is out. He's been sick, but they are also expecting him to return on Tuesday. It will be interesting to see what happens with DeAndre Ayton. We've got Aaron Baines, who has been getting a lot of minutes there, etc. So that could be one to keep an eye on. But our first game that we have is going to be, let's see, Los Angeles at Indiana. Los Angeles last played on Sunday in Atlanta. They're continuing their road trip. Indiana is a team that is interesting, but they're, I don't know, still a bit of a mess without Victor Oladipo. Everybody else is healthy, but we don't have a lot of players there that are consistent outside of Domantas Sabonis, who has actually been sublime this season. Malcolm Brogdon has taken that next step, and he has been doing very, very well. And then Jeremy Lamb, TJ Warren, Miles Turner, kind of mixed results with those guys. No other injuries to worry about there. With the Lakers, we've got Kyle Kuzma is going to be out probably potentially until the weekend. He's got a sprained ankle. Rajon Rondo should be back. He's been dealing with the sore hamstring. And then Anthony Davis actually listed as questionable. Now, the Lakers have done a pretty good job of letting us know his actual status. This is the first game of the night, so we're going to know everything that we need to know. But the questionable tag could lead people away from him. What do you like here in our first game between the Lakers and the Pacers?
Well, it's all going to hinge on Anthony Davis playing in this game. Anthony Davis on the injury report must be a day that ends in Y. That's what I say about Anthony Davis. So, always, if you've played DFS long enough, it's always pretty nerve-wracking to play an Anthony Davis questionable tag, regardless of even if he suits up, because you never know when he makes that visit to the locker room. So yeah, I mean, this game isn't too appealing if Anthony Davis does play. The over under, they don't have it out yet, but it doesn't look like, probably won't be too high, too slow. I mean, LA does a great job on defense. Like you said, Miles Turner and Sabonis might have a tough time inside, especially if AD plays. With the other games on the slate, I don't envision myself targeting this game too much, but Brogdon is probably the most interesting piece in this game, and then potentially, if Anthony Davis is out, LeBron is going to be very heavily owned. But LeBron's got that 5 times value, about 56%, 6 times value at 15%. So he's probably going to be worth the price, but I'd rather play some other guys like Trae Young maybe or Kawhi Leonard, who are a little bit better value.
All right, I'm gonna look here and see who else. Let's see. So LeBron and Anthony Davis, essentially mirroring each other in price. LeBron is 10-9 on DraftKings, Davis 10-5. FanDuel, it's 11 for LeBron, 10-7 for Davis, and they are both 52 over there on presenting sponsor Yahoo. Pretty much everybody else is 12, 11, or 10. So if you need some value there, you can look to guys like Dwight Howard, maybe a Danny Green, JaVale McGee, depending on how you're feeling about the Lakers matching up with the bigger front court there for Indiana. But we do know that it's mostly going to be that duo. Looking over to the Pacers, Domantas Sabonis coming in at twin $8,000 price points there on DraftKings and FanDuel. He's 39 on Yahoo. Malcolm Brogdon 74 on DK, 79 on FanDuel. The rare time I'm going to say I don't feel good about Malcolm Brogdon is for this game. Lakers are actually one of the better defensive teams from a defensive efficiency standpoint, and they don't really play at a fast pace. We just kind of tend to think they do because their production is so concentrated in those two guys. If you were going to go from anybody from Indiana at first blush here, would it be a Brogdon, Sabonis, Lamb, Turner perhaps? What do you like, or is it just kind of pedestrian?
I would go for Brogdon, and then I'd probably go for Lamb before Brogdon actually. Lamb's got some good 6 times value is actually 42% at the price on DraftKings. 4900, that's a pretty good value for him. He's coming off a pretty good game, 27 points. He's a big part of that. He's going to play minutes in the 30s. And maybe not in the 30s. He'll play in the upper 20s to 30s. So I'd probably target Lamb first and then possibly Brogdon, but I don't envision myself, unless Anthony Davis is out, don't really see myself having a lot of exposure to this game.
All right, I just stand corrected here. The Lakers are in the top 10 for pace this season. Everybody, technically they're 6th, but if they had 2 less possessions, they'd be 14th. So everything's kind of bunched up. They are top 10. They are the 3rd best defensive efficiency, allowing just 100 points per 100 possessions. On to our next game here. One of my favorite players is in this one, and his price has kind of come up. That would be Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield, always fun to watch. He just keeps jacking those 3-pointers. He is second in the league right now. And of course, I went away from that screen, so I'll have to call that back up. I was like, now, oh, yeah, of course, James Harden is number 1. That I can remember.
Buddy's number 1. Would have never thought that.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second, Emac, you're missing the easy one here. Yeah. So let's call this up. So Harden is averaging 14 3-pointers a game. Hield is at 10 for Doncic and Kemba Walker and Lillard and Devontae Graham and Trae Young are all at 9 or 9.2. But pretty impressive there for Hield. He's knocking them down 37.5% of the time. And the best part, it's his birthday.
Oh, okay.
I did not know that after I'd already decided to make him the cover boy here. But I was calling it up because I was trying to remember if his number was 20. I thought his number was 24, but then I started second guessing myself. So I just typed in Buddy Hield and it popped up and said December 17th, Buddy Hield's birthday. So now he's going to play better, right?
Yeah, I mean, Buddy on his birthday for Buddy. So, yeah, it's he's been real high, 43 points on average over his last 5 games. So he's going to be definitely a good target right there.
He will be 28.
I think 28?
I think people have forgotten he was a 4-year player at the University of Oklahoma. And remember that first year he came out and he was just horrible. He couldn't make a shot after being, just a guy that was was going to be a top draft pick. But he's really turned it all around here with Sacramento after being part of that DeMarcus Cousins trade with the Pelicans. But he was the 6th pick overall. He is going to be 28. I point that out because he did spend 4 years in college. So that has him a little bit older. And he's actually from the Bahamas. That I did not remember.
Yeah, he did some great things when they had that hurricane a month or 2 ago, and he really raised a lot of money to help out his family and friends over there. So big ups to Buddy right there. But yeah, I mean, he's really taking advantage of De'Aaron Fox not being in the lineup. But De'Aaron Fox is probable.
I know that's what I want. That's where the hesitation comes in for Buddy. Yep. Because you've got Fox should be coming back. We've seen the return of Marvin Bagley. They are outright just not playing Dwayne Dedmon, which is wild to me considering Dwayne Dedmon is actually reasonably good for today's NBA, and they signed him to a decent contract from Atlanta, and he's literally just not playing now. But they've been going a lot with Rashawn Holmes, who has really been picking it up. You've got Bogdan Bogdanovic, who's coming off a really good game. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury that's been causing him a lot of issues. So now all of a sudden we've got a lot of people and still the same static number of minutes. What do you think happens here? Can Hield sustain his price point, which is 72 on DraftKings, 77 on FanDuel, and 34 on Yahoo?
If De'Aaron Fox is playing his full slate of minutes, I don't see him being able to sustain that. I mean, he got off to a really bad start this year, and then really started picking it up once Fox got injured. Him and Bogdanovic really carried that team. I mean, it's funny. Bagley got hurt, Fox got hurt. They started off really poorly, and they've I think they're making their way up into the playoff picture in the West. So if not, I don't have the standings in front of them. But they've played really great basketball since those two went down. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust to the return of De'Aaron Fox. So, I won't be if there's anyone I'm going to target on Sacramento. I mean, the Fox return scares me a lot in terms of Buddy's production, but centers against Charlotte can never go wrong. Rashawn Holmes is a definite option.
All right, Corey Joseph's going to be kind of out of the picture here. Now, I don't want to play Fox. He's been out with that ankle injury. I suspect we'll hear something of a minutes limit. We don't yet, but let's just pencil him in for 20 right now. That feels, a couple of 5-minute stints in each half, get him back going. He and Hield and Bagley are going to be the face of this franchise. They had a nice surprising late run last year for the playoffs, or I should say they weren't eliminated as quickly as they normally are. This season, they are still hanging around the 7th seed, which is a little surprising in the West because they have a sub 500 record. We don't see that a lot, but the Clippers, Mavericks, Nuggets, and Rockets have all been kind of beaten up on each other. So it's allowing some of these teams to hang around. But they are in the mix for the playoffs with Sacramento, Oklahoma, Phoenix, Minnesota, San Antonio, and the Trailblazers, all separated by just 2 games at this point. So thought being they're going to take it easy with him and then see what they can do after Christmas would be my guess. I would suspect he may not play on back-to-backs, at least for the first couple, but getting him back is going to be a good thing for the Kings. On the other side here, we've got our just went to the page. We've got our friends from Charlotte. They're an interesting team. We've got all right. I'm trying to say nice things here. So PJ Washington, PJ Washington broke his pinky. He's going to be out for about 3 weeks. That kind of mucks with things. Marvin Williams has missed the last couple games with a sore knee. He is expected to play. Nicholas Batum has been got a banged up hand. He has missed the last couple games. So Batum hasn't been playing a ton, but that just says what's going to happen with these minutes. Does that open the door for someone like Willie Hernangomez? Are we going to get to see Dwayne Bacon? Is it going to be Bismack Biyombo? Is it going to be Malik Monk? These are not exciting players. The 2 guys who are exciting are Devontae Graham and Terry Rozier. As I mentioned, amongst the leaders in 3-point attempts there, we had Graham up there, which is rather impressive for a rookie. But he and Rozier are the 2 guys that I like. The Kings play at a slow pace. And that is something. These are not the Kings of past days. They've ticked up a tiny bit, but they are 8th at the 8th pace. They're 104 possessions. So let's put it in numbers. 104 possessions per 48. The top 5 teams are 110. So they play 6 possessions slower. That actually adds up and tends to drag down the teams with them. And I don't think having as many injured players as they do is really going to help that up. I suspect they will pick up the pace later in the season, much like I am right now by talking really quick. To turn it over to you, what do you got here from the Charlotte?
Devontae Graham's he's averaging 42 points over his last 5 games. He's been fantastic this year.
Say that one more time for everybody listening.
42 points over his last 5 games for Devontae Graham.
That seems like a good number.
That's a good number. Yeah, that's a lot of points. And he's the price has finally gotten up there. I don't think anyone. I mean, you read off that list of 3-point attempts, and seeing Devontae Graham among those guys like Lillard and Trae Young and Harden, kind of was taken aback. Where did this come from? So he's been fantastic for them and really taking advantage of Kemba Walker's departure there. Not like I don't love this game either. Sacramento does, as you mentioned, play at a slower pace, and we seem to have some conceived notion that Sacramento is a much faster paced team, and they probably will be once De'Aaron Fox returns. But
they were for years, though. Even with DeMarcus Cousins, they were still fast.
They didn't play defense either.
That was the whole point. They just were like, you guys, we'll get the ball back real quick here. That's fine.
So this is not a ton I like here. PJ Washington has been out 1 game now, and big game. Biyombo and Zeller both had huge games in that last game. I wouldn't be banking on them to. I've had enough of Cody Zeller in my life to need to deal with him. But not a ton I love here. I really won't be making it a point to include anyone. Maybe Rozier, but I'm not. There's some other games I'd much rather target.
All right, well, let's head on over to those. Trying a different approach with my spreadsheet here. Not sure I like it. We're on to our 7:30 game. It's Atlanta at New York. Atlanta, of course, lost. They've been frisky at home. They kept the Lakers a little bit worried there. We have John Collins out for another 3 games. You've got Kevin Huerter, who is questionable with the shoulder injury. Poor guy just is constantly getting banged up. Doesn't seem to be able to stay healthy. That's really the only worries there for the Knicks. It's kind of interesting. The interesting part is, what are they going to do with Elfrid Payton? Because Elfrid Payton, though he hasn't been starting, he has been finishing games. He has seen some decent action as the secondary ball handler, but the closer, if you will, over Frankie Ntilikina. And Dennis Smith Jr.'s had a couple DNP CDs. That guy's kind of a mess at this
He's
time.
been,
Point
yeah,
in
talk
time.
about a bad trade there. I mean,
They
they
didn't
got
win any of it. They didn't do anything with their. The pick, to be fair, I mean, you didn't know what was going to happen. RJ Barrett, not a bad choice.
no, not a bad choice.
But all the cap space, they signed 18 power forwards. And then now they're not even playing Dennis Smith Jr., who's not a bad player and could at least be a rotation guy. And then he's getting DNPs. What the hell? Alfred Payton, perfectly acceptable in this one, but there's just no stability within this roster outside of Julius Randle. But this is going to be a faster paced game, one of the higher implied point totals. So there's got to be a fair amount of information here to unpack, as Laffy hates to say. What do you like here? Let's start off with the Hawks side of things.
There's gonna be a lot of action on this one among DFSers in terms of what games they're gonna be stacking. Immediately, that price point of RJ Barrett, 4,500 on DraftKings, stands out. That's his lowest price of the season. I mean, it's easy for me to say that he will likely be great value, but I will probably take an approach, during the day, throughout the day, look at ownership projections that also provides, and also look at some, the sentiments around the content guys we have and around some news to see what I think RJ Barrett's ownership percentage is going to be. So if it's exceeding 40%, I think I'm going to fade him actually. But if I think it's going to be around 25 to 30%, I think I'll probably take a chance on him. He's got a 7 times value rate of 38% at this price. So that's kind of like the basis of what I'm using there. Other than that, there's going to be a lot. Trae Young is going to be, I'm envisioning him to be high owned as well. He's the best value among the high price guys. He's got a 6 times value rate of 31%. Fast paced game, 220 point total. DeAndre Hunter's interesting, especially if Herter's going to be out. Hunter, Trae Young, maybe even Reddish gets some. RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish get some Duke rookie minutes going against each other. Maybe that'll be interesting. So this game is going to be. I'll probably have about maybe 2 or 3 guys from this game focused around Trae Young, and then depending on RJ Barrett's ownership, I'll look into that. And Marcus Morris the other day really cost me. So I'm holding a grudge against Marcus Morris right now. He cost me a big pot. He's in the Mo Harkless club right now for me. So, but he looks like great value. He's shooting about 13, 14 times a game. So hard not to like that against the Hawks, who are just. I mean, it's crazy. We're interested in the Knicks Hawks game. That's what DFS does for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of like if this was a Friday night, this would be one of the ones I'd be watching. I'd be kicking back, having a nice cold beverage, be going, all right, let's see a little Trae Young, Marcus Morris, RJ Barrett, as you mentioned, these guys. It's like, all right, what can these guys do? And then the piece de resistance for me would be Julius Randle. He's at least seemingly, I say this hesitantly because, of course, we have the new coach there. But he has gotten, 36, 30, 38, 25, and 35 minutes in the last 5. That's solid. He's topped 40 fantasy points twice in his last 5 games. 2 of them were 36 and 38, so that's not that bad. And the last 4 games, it was a West Coast road swing here for New York. So they had to go through Portland, Golden State, Sacramento, and Denver. They're back home. This will be a little bit better. Somehow they actually won 2 of those games. They have won a grand total of 3 games at home this season. They have won 6 on the year, and 2 of them have come in the last 3, and it was in the middle of a West Coast road trip.
I feel like the Knicks at home has been, over the few years, has been absolutely. They've won 9 games at home the last 3 years. It feels like
it's been pretty bad. From a fantasy standpoint, we don't care what the final score is as long as our guys that we back are getting it done. But these guys outside of Young, Randall, I'm okay with Elf. I want to look a little bit more at Popcorn Machine, which is, of course, gives us the GameFlow box scores, and I'm curious to see what Adam has to say about that as well, because he's one of those guys that tends to do a good job of sussing out what coaches are going to be doing as lineups and rotations start to change. So I want to see what he has to say. You can catch that on the NBA DFS strategy show. That's going to be 9:30 on Tuesday morning for NBA. 11 o'clock, you're going to get the NFL version of that. And then around 4 o'clock, you're going to get the NHL, the hockey show with Jake Hari. And then at 5 o'clock, you've got the deep dive. At 6 o'clock, you've got Live Before Lock featuring Fast Eddie Fair. So we've got you covered with all sorts of content. Reminder, we have a new promo, well, same promo code. Early Bird, all one word. Promo code has changed. It is, or the offering has changed. It's half off any 1 week package. Had some people saying, I don't want to sign up for a whole month. Okay, fine. We'll give you half off of a week. Now you got no excuses. For just a couple bucks, you can get in there, check out everything. Definitely worthwhile. And then follow me on Twitter. You can get in those Fred Van Elite fan club contests where I have to play Fred Van Vliet and or his direct backup, as has been the last couple days. But if the winner in that contest has an Osmo avatar, you get 30 free days of Osmo premium content. Check it out.
How are you adjusting to a Fred Van Vliet-less life?
I don't mind as long as his backup is appropriately priced for being a backup. Okay. And this year, this will bring it back full circle. Last year, it was Jeremy Lin, by the way, played for the Knicks and the Hawks. But last year I had to get a lot of Jeremy Lin in my life. Those were not fun days. Now it's at least interesting. I actually got second in that contest last week without Fred VanVleet. It was a Norm Powell day. And people were complaining. I said, oh, you got to play Norm Powell. You didn't play Fred VanVleet. I said, if Norm Powell was such a good play, how come there were 2 of us out of the 100 people in the contest that played him? So I beat you guys with the other spots. But definitely check that out. You can find that on my pinned tweet and give me a little bit of crap. But you got to join the Osmo DraftKings League. That's where I post the contest. So you'll get an alert when I post those. I post them the morning of every game. It's 100 people in it. It's just $1. After we get through the NFL, and probably starting with Christmas, I'm going to up that to 150 because we're filling these usually in the first 3 hours or 4 hours of when I post them. So try to give everybody a fair chance and do those in the morning. I was posting them the night before, but now they're filling so quickly. I want to make sure everybody has a fair shot at those. But back to the games here. Second half of our schedule. We've got Brooklyn. We've got New Orleans. Brooklyn favored by 2 on the road. This game has a 229 over-under. It is the highest of the 4 that we do have over-unders for. Atlanta and the Knicks was at 220. We'll talk about Orlando and Utah. Boy, 5 years ago, the Orlando-Utah game would have been a 192 over-under. It's 206 now because everybody's playing faster. And then Sacramento and Charlotte is 208. We're still waiting on Phoenix and the Clippers because we don't know officially what's happening with Kawhi Leonard. And then Lakers and Indy, I think because they have the questionable tag there on Anthony Davis, is actually legitimately questionable at this point. They haven't posted a total there. But what do you like here from our Brooklyn side of things going into New Orleans?
Yeah, that number stands out, obviously, about approaching 230 for that over-under. And Taurean Prince, his price really dropped on DraftKings, about $1,000. He's on to 5,500. He's always good for a potential blow-up game. He's got a 33% 6 times value rate. So I'll be definitely keeping an eye on whether Taurean Prince is going to be heavily owned. But if he is, if people start going the RJ Barrett direction, or they start going with Marcus Morris or Julius Randle, that next game, I'll definitely have a lot of Taurean Prince in my lineups. Dinwiddie's been fantastic. He's slowed down a little bit recently, but he's still averaging 40 points per game over his last 5 games. And it sets up well. New Orleans, on the New Orleans side, JJ Redick's out. So that's going to make Drew Holiday more appealing. That's going to make Josh Hart potentially more appealing. Maybe you'll see a couple more shots for Brandon Ingram. Frank Jackson might even get some run at $3,000 on DraftKings. So he is I would consider him. We've seen him go off, once in a while if he gets the minutes. So I won't have too much exposure to him. But if you're looking for a play that might really separate you and help you win a GPP, he could be someone to look into. And then of course Lonzo will probably get some of Redick's minutes as well. He's been pretty average overall. He has a blow up game every once in a while, but that's been a disappointment in general. So what are you thinking here, Mac, for the New Orleans Brooklyn game?
Looking at first off at Brooklyn, we got Kyrie's going to be out for a couple more games, as is Karis LeVert. So I think we can continue to give consideration to Spencer Dinwiddie. He's been absolutely fine. He was last year when D'Angelo Russell was out, and even with D'Angelo Russell, he's He's been a solid guy, whether he comes off the bench or whether he's in the starting lineup. Dinwiddie definitely has a complete all-around game. He's adequate. I don't mind Joe Harris just for some differentiation as a shooting option. He does all right from time to time, and then with New Orleans doesn't necessarily guard their wings very well, so if he's out there on the elbow, that's a nice spot for him to get the ball. Speaking of ball, Lonzo is someone I keep falling into the trap of taking. The good games they are lurking. They have been fewer and farther between than I would have liked. I'm going to call up his game log here. He last topped 30 fantasy points on December 5th, but he dropped 54. That was against Phoenix. Since then, he hasn't topped 30 fantasy points. He's also been playing in the low to mid 20s for minutes. He's not taking enough shots. He hasn't had double-digit shot attempts since the game before he had that 50 burger. So that's something that makes it harder to trust him, but his price has come down across the board, and I'm okay with using him as some roster filler until we get, or placeholder value, as I like to call it, until we get to some of the better options that will appear throughout the day. And then Drew Holiday, Brandon Ingram, those guys are the solid options in any matchup. Those are the ones we can turn to. They're nothing overly exciting. Derek Favors is back and playing, but we'll have to see. Do you think he remembers playing for Brooklyn? Technically, it was New Jersey, but he was part of that Deron Williams trade. He was drafted by Brooklyn, played, what, 20, 30 games for him? That was a long time ago.
I barely remember it, so I don't think he does.
I was going to say, he remembers he was drafted by him, I think, but...
No, I'm usually pretty good with these memories of revenge games. You know, I got my revenge game database, and that's not one that registers with me. It's been too long, so I think it's an expiration date on revenge games sometimes.
That sounds fair. That sounds fair.
When Vince Carter plays the Raptors, it's still a revenge game.
Vince Carter, he had a nice moment there with LeBron after the Lakers game on Sunday. They gave each other hugs and such. Vince, it's officially his last year. Props to him. 42, still playing. Relatively solid. He said for the last few years, he's like, yeah. He goes, no, I just like playing basketball. He said, I'm trying to help out the younger guys here. If I get to come off the bench, get a few minutes here and there, I'm totally happy with it. He said, I'd play till I was 45 if I could, but things are winding down. And then this year he's already announced it's his final year. But it's considering, God, he was playing when I was in college. That's hard for me to say about any players right now.
I had a poster on my wall, the Next Generation poster from like 1998. I got into like a Scholastic books like when I was in third grade, and he's the only player left on that poster. So that will be. I think it's officially time to take it down now. Once everyone retires, I think Duncan was on there, Kobe, and Ray Allen.
I'm wrong. I was out of college for.
You were out of college. Oh well.
So close, but so close.
Still, you should have went the victory lap. Then you would have made it.
Yeah, then I would have been perfectly fine there.
Yeah, maybe that poster might be time to take down now once Vince retires. So
yeah, very just impressive. He's going to be 43 in January, so right around the Super Bowl or just before the Super Bowl, he turns 43. That's just impressive.
I want him to play forever. Never retire. Udonis Haslem, he still plays. I mean, he's not 43, but he doesn't really play. But he's still.
There we go.
All right. Let's not.
Back to tonight's games. Now everybody's mad. Hey, we weren't talking about season-long leagues. That's reserved for me and Stratford. But let's get back to today's games. Finishing this one up, we hit the high notes, play the good guys, the key players from this game. Then we're going to have to wait for news. Someone gets a cold, someone gets a surprise start, etc. Maybe, as you mentioned, Frank Jackson. That will be where we can pick up something. Otherwise, this one is not a lot of guys that are banged up. What we do have in our next game, Orlando taking on Utah, got a few people banged up. I want to see, do we have any updates there on Conley?
Conley's probable.
All right, so Conley probable is kind of interesting, and then we do have Vooch came back this weekend, so he's good. So the only guy really dinged up now is Al-Farouq Aminu, and that's kind of an afterthought there for the Orlando side of things.
Right.
These are two solid defensive teams, two teams that play at a bit of a slower pace. And with them fully healthy, I don't really like anybody on any of the sides. I
I don't
will say
either.
this: I don't think Donovan Mitchell is adversely impacted by the return of Mike Conley. I think Conley actually gives Utah a better chance of winning. I'm going to say this as well. He's not as good as a fantasy option as Ricky Rubio was with them. And I like Ricky Rubio as a real basketball player and as a fantasy basketball player. But he gives Utah a better chance to win than Ricky Rubio, which is wild because freaking Ricky Rubio's given Phoenix a better chance to win than anybody else did last year. So no slight on Ricky Rubio, but I think Conley's a good fit for this team. He just kind of morphs into be where he needs to be. If they need a few buckets, he'll do that. If they need, him to be the ball handler, he'll do that. If they need him to guard somebody, he'll do that. Problem is he's brittle as hell.
Yeah, he's been, and he got off to a real cold start too. He couldn't make a shot. What was he shooting, like 20%?
I was going to say 5, but there you
5%.
go.
I was being generous this morning. Yeah, 5 is, I think, more accurate actually. Yeah, but I guess your sentiments. I agree with that. There's not much to see here in this game. You could maybe, if you want to be really contrarian, take 3 or 4 guys and hope for a double OT maybe. Then you got a big edge on the field. Not a terrible strategy. That's how you win big. That's how you win big pots. Ready, man?
Yeah.
But
So Vooch is 73 on DK in his first game back after missing about 11 games. He played 29 minutes. So we got to figure he's going to play close to 30. His season average when healthy is like 33. So he's not that far off the season average, and that's a very reasonable price point. It's a tough matchup against Rudy Gobert, but we've seen centers more and more that the ones that can shoot anyways trying to take Gobert outside of the paint, and Vucevic is very capable of doing that. So
yeah, I do like Vooch here. If I'm going to target anyone from this game, it would be Vooch. He's got if as long as he gets 10 minutes up in the 30s, you got a good shot at a 6 times value, and on DraftKings is 7,300. And Gobert, he's not a bad matchup for centers. Centers can put points up against him. Like you said, if they can get him out away from the basket, Vooch definitely has the range to do that. I like the matchup here for Vooch. So.
Yeah, I want to call out his price. So he's so Vooch is 73 on DK, 79 on FanDuel, 36 on Yahoo. I do like that DK price. Gobert, by comparison, 79 on DK, 86 on FanDuel, and 34 on Yahoo. So I don't mind that on Yahoo, but I really don't like him on either of the other two sites. If you're playing one of those later slates, he's perfectly fine. But on the main slate, I'd rather go Vooch or go elsewhere outside of this game. Moving along here, final game of the night, Phoenix at the Clippers. We don't have a projected total here because we don't know officially that Kawhi Leonard is going to play, but he is going to play. Devin Booker banged up. As I mentioned at the top, he is expected to return, as is DeAndre Ayton. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with Phoenix's rotations, introducing Ayton after being out for 25 games. I'm curious to see how that works with Kelly Oubre Jr. and with Aaron Baines and with Frank Kaminsky. I'm assuming Kaminsky is going to be the odd man out there. The other one that I think is going to be interesting is looking towards a Lou Williams or especially Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench. I think those guys are okay. In this matchup, I don't see how Phoenix keeps it close enough for Kawhi and George to have good games. They're fairly priced, but and we saw them the other night both get 40 NBA points, first time that's ever happened in Clippers history. But that happening against Phoenix doesn't feel like a likely outcome. I would suspect they roll through this one, and I will be shocked if they are not 9 or 10 point favorites once we get a line posted here.
Yeah, Clippers at home against Phoenix are going to be 9 or 10 point favorites for sure. Ayton's return is definitely an issue for that front court in Phoenix. Lou Williams I have is questionable. I've got Beverly is questionable, and I have JaMychal Green is questionable. Do you have that as well, Emax?
Yeah, so Beverly was dealing in the concussion protocol. JaMychal Green's missed a few games. I think it's I can't remember, sore back or ankle. Wouldn't surprise me if those two sit out again. They're really not going to need him in this game. Lou Williams could be another nice one for rest. They kind of gave him, he had a sore calf, but he's also been, how old do you think Lou Williams is?
Lou Williams, well, he came out of high school in about 2006, 2007. No, he came in 2004, probably. So obviously it had to be before 2005. So he's probably about 32.
He's 33. Very good,
32.
very good guessing there. This is his 14th season, by the way. So he
Yeah.
is not a spring chicken.
No,
And
but
he's been looking a little slower this season than he has in the past. They do have the luxury, they being the Clippers, of giving him some days off, preferably for them when Kawhi's not taking the day off. And I think this is something that we may see a few times here and there throughout the season. So them picking some of the easier games in the Western Conference to make this happen wouldn't be a surprise. So we'll have to see what happens there. If he's out, they've got Landry Shamet back, and a few of their other guys are healthy. So to me, it just feels like anybody that's kind of hurt or dinged up doesn't really need to play in this one.
Yeah, it's tough to analyze this game right now without all the information, especially Phoenix on the back-to-back. Tyler Johnson was out today as well. I mean, right off the bat, Kawhi Leonard's price at 9,400 on DraftKings looks pretty good, especially if he's going to be picking up the slack for Lou Williams if he hits again, and Beverly probably gets some more ball handling there in the starting unit. I guess Terrence Mann or Shamet, who replaced Beverly last time, Terrence Mann or Shamet. I think it was Terrence Mann. I think got the start last game, but
yes, it was Terrence Mann.
Yeah,
and I think Walton was the other one.
Walton, yeah, those guys don't do much of anything. So, yeah, Kawhi's definitely interesting. I'll probably have a lot of lineups with Trae Young at that 90, especially on DraftKings at 90. I think it was 9,900, and then Kawhi Leonard at 9,400. I'll probably have a bunch of lineups with him as well. So as long as he plays, of course. So that's probably how I approach that. And Phoenix is tough right now. I don't really know how to approach that with DeAndre Ayton coming back and Devin Booker on the Fritz and Michael Bridges starting today and Dario Saric. And there's a lot of moving pieces there. A lot of blow up potential. I won't be looking too much into playing the players in that game. So yeah, do you have any thoughts there, Emac, about who stands out to you?
Nope, I think we're going to have to wait and see what happens on that one. But that's a pretty good foundational look for everybody. So we'll use this point to wrap it up. Reminder, it is Buddy Hield's birthday. The only other player with the birthday on the 17th is Guerschon Yabusele.
Are you going to have any Guerschon in your lineup? No Guerschon?
No Guerschon.
No Guerschon.
Sorry to say. Who does he? He's Celtic, right?
He's going to be my G League DFS.
I was going to say, is he even on a roster at the moment? But
he's in my G League DFS.
All right, that'll be the place to give him a look there. But of course, if you want to give us a look, definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell on Yahoo, or probably on Yahoo. I always say Yahoo, on YouTube, because that is how you can find out every time we post new content or go live with the show here on the Awesemo YouTube channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it is at EmacDFS. If you want to give Joey a follow, it is leave it to the number 2 Divac. And I see you have some nice pictures there of Vlade himself. One as a player, one as what looks like an executive. Looks like he's been out on a good night.
It was a good night. That was when he traded DeMarcus Cousins. So I think. Yeah, he was on a bender that night. He just shipped DeMarcus off to.
I think he got confused. He opened up the wrong app on his phone and he played with the Wizards or with the Kings app and not his fantasy team.
Yep, and Vladdy's building some. I like the Kings. They're building a good thing over there. So if I consider myself to have one of the longest running Vladdy Divac fan pages in the world, unverified, of course. But if you want more Vladdy Divac in your life,
there we go. All right, with that, gamers, good luck.